Have you ever looked down at your hands and wondered if they might be telling you something long before the rest of your body says a word? Most people think of their hands as tools. They open doors, hold coffee cups, send messages, carry groceries, shake hands, type passwords. But your hands are also messengers. In some cases, they are among the first places where deeper changes inside the body become visible. And I want to be careful right from the beginning because this is important. This is not a video about self-diagnosing yourself from one strange symptom you noticed for 10 seconds in bad bathroom lighting. Bodies are more complicated than that. Hands do not deliver verdicts, they deliver clues. But those clues can matter a lot. What I want to do today is walk you through 7 critical signs your hands may be trying to show you. Not in a vague, dramatic, internet thumbnail kind of way, but in a grounded biological way. Why certain changes happen, what systems they involve, and why some signs are harmless in one context but worth paying attention to in another. Because once you understand why the hands can reveal so much, the whole thing starts to make sense. Your hands sit at the far end of multiple systems that are constantly talking to the rest of your body. Blood vessels have to reach them. Nerves have to reach them. Connective tissue, joints, skin, immune activity, circulation, oxygen delivery, hydration status, even hormone-related changes can all show up there. In other words, your hands are exposed, visible, and constantly active. That makes them one of the most revealing places on the body. So let's build this from the ground up. The first sign is persistent numbness or tingling. Almost everyone has had temporary pins and needles. You sleep in a strange position, put pressure on a nerve, wake up, shake your hand, and it goes away. That by itself is not mysterious. That is simple compression. But persistent numbness, repeated tingling, or loss of sensation that keeps coming back is different. The reason this matters is that feeling in your hands depends on nerves doing their job properly. And nerves are remarkably sensitive structures. They can be compressed, irritated, inflamed, undernourished, or damaged. Sometimes that happens locally, like in carpal tunnel syndrome, where pressure affects the median nerve at the wrist. Sometimes it happens more broadly, as in peripheral neuropathy, where the smaller nerves themselves are affected. And this is where the hand becomes a useful signal. If the problem is in the wiring, the hand often notices early. You may feel tingling in the fingers, reduced sensation, weakness, or that strange combination of numbness and burning that people often struggle to describe. It can be linked to repetitive strain. It can be linked to vitamin deficiencies such as low B12. It can be linked to diabetes, alcohol-related nerve injury, autoimmune conditions, or other nerve disorders. What makes this sign important is not just the sensation itself, it's the pattern. Is it occasional or is it becoming frequent? Is it one hand or both? Is it tied to position or does it happen for no clear reason? When the sensation becomes persistent, your hands may be telling you that the nervous system needs a closer look. The second sign is shaking. Now, a shaky hand does not automatically mean something severe. Hands can tremble after too much caffeine, too little sleep, a stressful day, intense anxiety, low blood sugar, or even simple fatigue. That is part of why this sign is so easy to dismiss. People often assume it is nothing because there are so many ordinary reasons for it. But tremor becomes more meaningful when it is recurring, noticeable, and starting to interfere with ordinary movements. Pouring water, holding a spoon, writing clearly, buttoning a shirt, tapping a phone screen without overshooting. These are not dramatic tasks, but they reveal a lot about fine motor control. Tremor is essentially involuntary rhythmic shaking, and it often involves the hands first. Some tremors happen mostly when the hands are in use. Others are more noticeable at rest. That distinction matters because different tremor patterns can point in different directions. One common form is essential tremor, which often shows up during action, especially when trying to hold or use something. Other tremors may be associated with neurological conditions, thyroid overactivity, medication effects, or metabolic stress. What I find fascinating about this sign is that the hand turns invisible brain activity into something visible. A movement control problem that you cannot see in the brain becomes visible in the fingers. And when something as basic as holding a cup starts changing over time, that is not the kind of thing to ignore just because stress can also make hands shake. The third sign is fingers that change color in the cold. This one is one of the clearest examples of the body showing you circulation in real time. A person goes out into cold air, opens the freezer, holds an iced drink, or even gets stressed, and suddenly the fingers become very pale or blue or later red as they warm back up. Sometimes the fingers feel numb first, sometimes they sting or throb as blood flow returns. That pattern is strongly associated with something called Raynaud's phenomenon, where the small blood vessels narrow too much in response to cold or stress. In plain language, the blood supply temporarily overreacts. The hands are among the easiest places to see it because the fingers are so exposed and the vessels are so small. Now, this is where context matters. Some people have a mild primary form that is bothersome but not dangerous. Others develop Raynaud-like symptoms as part of a broader condition involving connective tissue or blood vessels. That is why the sign matters. Not every cold finger is a crisis. But repeated episodes of dramatic color change are the sort of pattern your body does not usually create for no reason. And notice how the hand becomes the screen on which circulation is projected. White can mean reduced blood flow. Blue can mean reduced oxygen in that tissue. Red can appear as blood returns. It is one of the few times your vascular system becomes visually obvious without any equipment at all. The fourth sign is swelling. If your rings suddenly feel tighter, if your fingers look puffier than usual, if your knuckles seem less defined, or if your hands feel thick and stiff, that can be a surprisingly meaningful sign. And again, not always for alarming reasons. Heat can do it, salt can do it, long periods in one position can do it, hormonal shifts can do it. Even exercise can temporarily make the hands swell. But persistent swelling, sudden swelling, or swelling with other symptoms deserves more attention. Here's why. Swelling is usually about fluid, inflammation, or impaired drainage. That means the hands may be reflecting something happening with circulation, the lymphatic system, the joints, or fluid balance more generally. Sometimes the issue is local, like an injury, infection, or inflammatory condition involving the joints. Sometimes it reflects something systemic, such as kidney, liver, or heart-related fluid retention. Sometimes it is connected to autoimmune disease. Sometimes it is a medication effect. The hand is especially sensitive to swelling because the structures are compact. There's not much spare space in the hand. A little extra fluid can change how everything feels. Rings fit differently. Skin looks stretched, movement feels stiff, you notice it quickly. And there is a difference between mild puffiness after a hot day and swelling that is sudden, painful, red, hot, or happening alongside shortness of breath or chest discomfort. That kind of combination changes the meaning completely. The hands are not just showing swelling at that point. They may be showing urgency. The fifth sign is unusually red palms. This is one of those signs that people often miss because it doesn't always look dramatic. It may just seem like the palms are warmer, pinker, or redder than usual, especially over the fleshy parts near the base of the thumb and little finger. And if it happens on both hands, is not itchy, and is not painful, people may simply assume that is just how their skin looks. Sometimes it is, but sometimes this is what is known as palmar erythema. What makes it interesting is that the redness is related to increased dilation of tiny blood vessels near the surface of the skin. In other words, the circulation pattern in the palm has changed. That can happen for benign reasons, and it can happen during pregnancy, for example. But it has also been associated with liver disease, thyroid-related issues, rheumatoid arthritis, and other underlying conditions. And this is exactly why hands are so informative. They make small vascular changes visible. You cannot look directly at your liver or hormone balance in the mirror. But sometimes you can look at your palms and see that something in the background may be altering circulation. The important thing here is not to panic over naturally warm hands or temporary flushing. The important thing is to notice persistent, symmetrical redness that doesn't quite fit your normal baseline. If your hands are consistently signaling a pattern, they may be worth listening to. The sixth sign is clubbing. This is one of the most medically significant hand signs because it usually develops slowly, and because once you see it clearly, it tends to look unmistakable. Clubbing happens when the fingertips enlarge and the nails begin to curve more noticeably around them. The normal angle between the nail and the skin changes. the tips begin to look rounder, broader, almost bulb-like. And here's what makes this sign so important. Clubbing is often linked to deeper issues involving oxygen, the lungs, the heart, or sometimes the digestive system and liver. It is not just a cosmetic nail change, it is a structural change in the fingertip itself. The exact biological pathway is complex, but the big picture is this. Long-term changes in circulation and tissue signaling can alter the soft tissue under the nail bed, gradually changing the shape of the fingertip. That is why clubbing matters. It suggests a process that has been developing over time, not something random that appeared overnight. This is also why it's such a good example of the body speaking quietly before it speaks loudly. Clubbing may appear before a person fully understands why they feel short of breath, fatigued, or different. The hands sometimes display what the internal organs have been struggling to say, and because it develops gradually, it can be missed by the person who sees their own hands every day. That is often how these signs work. Slow changes hide in familiarity. The seventh sign is a change in nail shape or color, especially spoon-shaped nails or nails that become unusually pale or white. Now we're moving from the fingers themselves to the nail bed, and the nail bed is a fascinating place because nails are built slowly over time. They are not instant reflections of a single moment. They are more like biological receipts. They carry evidence of what has been happening in the background. Spoon-shaped nails, where the nail becomes soft and curves upward at the edges, can be associated with iron deficiency anemia. Sometimes they are linked to other underlying conditions as well. Very pale nails or nails that look unusually white can also be meaningful, particularly when the change is obvious and persistent. What's important here is not that every odd nail means disease. Nails are affected by trauma, grooming habits, cosmetic products, and age. But when nail shape changes in a deeper structural way, the body is often telling you that something more fundamental may be affecting oxygen delivery, nutrition, circulation, or organ function. And this is why I wanted to include nails in a video about hands, because the hands are not only muscles and bones and skin, they are also one of the clearest places where slow internal change becomes visible on the outside. Now, if you step back and look at all 7 signs together, something bigger becomes clear. Your hands can reveal changes in nerves. They can reveal changes in blood flow. They can reveal fluid balance, inflammation, oxygen delivery, and even long-term nutritional or systemic stress. They do this not because they are magical, but because they are exposed endpoints of systems that run through the entire body. That is the real idea I want to leave you with. The hands are not fortune tellers. They are biology made visible. If your hands tingle constantly, that may be a nerve story. If they shake more than they used to, that may be a movement control story. If your fingers turn white and blue in the cold, that may be a blood vessel story. If they swell, turn red, or develop structural nail changes, that may be a circulation, inflammation, or systemic story. Different signs, different mechanisms, same principle. Your body often gives clues before it gives conclusions. And I think that matters because most people do not ignore their health on purpose. They miss patterns because no one ever explained what the pattern meant. A ring feeling tighter, a color change in winter, a tremor while holding a mug, a numb fingertip, a nail changing shape slowly over months. These don't always feel important in isolation, but biology is often subtle before it is obvious. So the next time you look at your hands, don't look at them as ordinary background objects. Look at them as active participants in your body's messaging system. They grip, they touch, they build, they communicate, and sometimes they reveal. Not every sign means something serious. That is true. But some signs become important precisely because people normalize them for too long. And the goal is not fear. The goal is awareness. Calm, informed, useful awareness. Because when you understand what your hands may be trying to tell you, you stop seeing them as just tools at the end of your arms. You start seeing them for what they also are. One of the most visible health dashboards your body gives you for free. So if this video changed the way you think about your hands, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want, leave a comment telling me which of these 7 signs surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.